Hotep family, welcome to the Pro-Black Perspective on KWZ Radio. I'm your host, Onitaset Kumat, the author of the Book of Power, and today we're doing the ultimate, or the final lesson of the course on African philosophy. This is lesson 22, and this is the 5-year plan of the UNIA. The course on African philosophy is better known as The Message to the People by Marcus Garvey, and it's a leadership academy, if you will, and it's been a wonderful journey. I'm glad that you came along with it with me, and I hate to say goodbye, but it doesn't have to be forever. You can always subscribe, and share this video, and always you could revisit it, and you can see whatever next series I have. I have stuff in the works. I'm looking to investigate this nice roundtable discussion with Malcolm X and James Farmer and two other brothers, if you will, and I want you to listen to that one too. So definitely subscribe, share. It's always going to be, and there's going to be new content, and it's going to be good content, because as you know, I'm about it. I'm about the race, and somebody else who's about the race is, of course, Marcus Garvey. So let's go into his words. So this is lesson 22, the 5-year plan of the UNIA. All right. In 1934, at the International Convention of the UNIA held at Edithwise Park, Crossroads, St. Andrews, Jamaica, British West Indies, that's BWI, the President General of the Association presented to the convention in session the 5-year plan scheme as the most possible and practical scheme through which the association could rehabilitate itself and carry out the major objects of the organization. The scheme was thoroughly discussed and adopted by resolutions, properly moved and seconded and carried unanimously, as set out in the reprint circular from the Black Man magazine, August-September 1935, herewith incorporated. Secure a copy of this circular. This is really important. So this is an explanation of the 5-year plan. I just want you to understand, you gotta have plans. You have to plan, and Garvey spoke about that earlier. So you lay out a 5-year plan, and you lay out your life accordingly. So the 5-year plan is a scheme of colossal magnitude. Should the amount budgeted for be fully subscribed, it would enable the organization to, in a most practical and efficient manner, carry out not only the industrial, commercial, and other phases of the convention program, but to a great extent encourage and carry out many of the major objects for racial development. The idea is to get every Negro in the world to pledge to contribute voluntarily a sum of money for 5 years and pay the same within 5 years to the plan. The amount to be contributed is to be left entirely to the financial ability of the individual person. It was suggested that no person could be so poor as to not be able to contribute at least $5 within 5 years to such a fund to assist in the general development of the race. Hence, nobody should be left out. The majority of people would be in a better position to contribute larger sums within the 5 years. For instance, some may be able to contribute $10, $20, $100, $500, or $1,000 within 5 years. I want to say this, though. I want to say this right here. So this sounds like one of those, a lot of times you'll see people say, hey, if only every black person contributed this amount of money, then we would have a whole bunch of money, right? This is something that I always tend to take issue with, because you don't have every black person contributing to a fund, particularly to any sort of organization. You don't really have that kind of connection, except that Marcus Garvey and the UNIA had a very close type of connection. I think he, at one point, at its height, the UNIA had 1% of the population in its membership, in its active membership. So and that's a huge number. Like in today's term, let's say there's 1 billion. Let's say there's just 1 billion. Let's just go for 1 billion. 1 billion black folk. 1% is 10 million. 10 million, I think. So, 10 million individuals. I'm trying to check the math in my head, right? But 10 million individuals is a. That's actually a little bit of people. Anyway, but I think the math is somehow off. But the idea is that that's a lot of people for an organization, for one organization in the world. Yeah, that's a lot of people for one organization in the world. I mean, considering this, that there's 40 million, quote unquote, African Americans. You know what I mean? Like, there's 40 million African Americans. So you're talking about like a quarter of the black race in America in one organization. But but dispersed around the world. That's a lot. So let's keep going. There's every reason. Oh yeah, and of course, if you go by that, 1% of the population is 10 million, then yeah, the African American population would be 4%, which is interesting. Although there's more than 1 billion Africans on the planet, when you consider the diaspora and people on the continent. So if you're really going by the math, it's less than 4%. But the 90 something percent is not African American. But that's it. That's another conversation altogether. So there's every reason why every Negro should contribute to the fund voluntarily, for it would supply the organization with the financial resources to work without prejudice in the complete interest of the race. It would help the organization realize all of its objects from which each and every Negro would benefit. The method of contributing to the fund is as follows. A person desirous of contributing makes a voluntary pledge for the amount to be contributed within 5 years, to be paid in installments, monthly, quarterly, semi-annually, or annually until paid. If possible, one could pay his pledge in one payment. The pledge must be sent to the headquarters of the organization, the parent body, 2200 East 40th Street, Cleveland, Ohio. The person pledging must give his or her full name, correct address, and profession. The person may send the first installment with that pledge. On receipt of the first payment, a pledge card will be issued from headquarters to the subscriber or donor, with the amount pledged written on the card and the amount of the installment paid also entered. The card is returned to the donor with the request that whenever other installments are to be paid, that the card be forwarded with the installment for the amount to be entered on the card and in the ledger at headquarters and returned to the donor. After the pledge is fully paid, a certificate is issued by the parent body to show that the particular person paid the pledge and contributing to the 5-year plan of the organization. At the close of the 5-year period, a record will be published in which each donor who has paid up the pledge will have his or her name recorded for the information of all concerned. The amount of money collected in the plan will be appropriated for carrying out the many schemes authorized by the Convention of 1934, as set out in the circular referred to above. In explaining, so this is pretty much like a GoFundMe. Well, I don't want to use that term, obviously, but like pretty much like what crowdfunding. It's pretty much like crowdfunding, but before the internet, so yeah, you just and then it even got the reward at the end, but you see Garvey is like way ahead of his time, and I'm not saying that he's not the first. He's the first person to crowdfund. Like that would be surprising if so, but like these are the things that we've done. So when it and also notice how he has a low tech crowdfunding. He has low-tech crowdfunding. Like, we have no excuse. We have high-tech, and we're not necessarily crowdfunding, per se, onto the great things that could be done. But, like, we're not even doing that, let's say. We're not even crowdfunding on the great stuff. We are crowdfunding a little bit, sometimes. But we have no excuse in the sense of you don't even need the internet to crowdfund. You don't even need it, and yet, when we go through what it is that the UNIA is trying to accomplish, we have to ask ourselves: have we been funding that? So let's see. In explaining the 5-year plan, great stress must be laid on the fact that for the Negro to realize the object of a nation and government of his own, he must first have financial security. And this is true. This is why I said in the Book of Power, Boko Waset Nakeru. Okay? That is how you would establish financial security. So while no individual person can create a nation or a government for the race, because each individual is looking after his own personal and private business, there must be an organized cooperative effort towards this end. Hence, the effort is represented by the UNIA, to which all Negroes must contribute and with which they must cooperate. Established nations and governments get their revenue from taxes levied on the citizens. Exactly. Established nations and government get their revenues from taxes levied on the citizens. Okay, taxing is one of the most important concepts, and you'll read about this in the Book of Power, and you heard about it in the pro-black perspective when we were discussing, like why the Catholic, like why the churches are so successful, because essentially these churches have taxes. That's what tithes are, and this is why they outpower other why they outpower spiritual groups that do not have taxes. The Negro, having no government, cannot raise revenue for such a purpose in that way. Hence, those who desire such a thing must be voluntary contributors. The establishment of the different enterprises which will help to find employment for Negroes, and the profit of which will go to help the organization to carry out its nationalistic program, is in keeping with the principles of the organization, to hold all its properties and wealth in hereditary trust for the Negro race. A contribution to the fund simply means that one is hoping to place the race, through organization, in a position of financial security to which it can march on to the realization of nationhood and government. If everybody contributed just the amount of money that is thrown away on non-essentials in 5 years, it would turn out that the very amount that would have been lost in waste becomes the actual resource to establish that which is most needed by every Negro in the world. Therefore, it is the patriotic duty of every Negro to contribute to the fund to make the plan a success. The many enterprises we undertake in America, Canada, the West Indies, South and Central America, and Africa will be instrumental in finding employment for countless thousands of Negroes who never would have been employed otherwise, if the plan is fully supported. The very magnitude of the plan would give it status that will compel respect for the aims of the organization by all races. The 5-year plan has been set as the most thoughtful economic scheme that can be undertaken as a solution to the economic, industrial, political, and other problems of the Negro race. No Negro should be left out of an interview on the subject without fully convincing him that he should contribute, and to have him contribute to such a plan. So, finding employment is interesting. Like, employment from whom is the question, And I mean, you do want self-employment, but then you have to ask yourself, how do you do that? And so hopefully Garvey explores that. So let's see, how to get results. There's no use trying to represent the UNIA before making up your mind to get good results. The most important results are financial, active, and moral support. Financial support means to get as much money as possible to help finance the program. And getting such money, you must do so at the least cost, so that the amount received will produce a net that can be used for the purpose for which it was obtained. Active results means enrolling persons as active members of the association. People who will always work as a member to help put up the program over. And moral support means to secure sympathy and cooperation from individuals, so that the organization can always count on such persons to do their best for the movement. The way to get money. So, before we go into that, let's just dive in. Let's be honest. As we go about doing these lessons, financial support, active result, and moral support, this is something that, even if the UNIA is not existing, this is something you should do for every Pan-African nationalist. So, if you want to do some financial support for the for the pro-black perspective, or for let's say me, Onitaset Kumat, you can get the book. If you want to do active support, you can read the book. Okay, you can read the book yourself. You can get other people to read. You can also subscribe, like, share, all that. And moral support, that's another one of those subscribe, like, share things. So, or even just share this song I'm about to play for you. So while I think of other ways to get money, you could help out with listening to this song. And yeah, I just like doing a nice transition. Here you go. I just like doing transitions. I like it. Come on.
So I know books. Alright? So let me tell you about a book.
Come on.
Alright, check it. So the goal and objective is to be selective, elective for knowledge with the black directive, checking sources, heritage, and legacies, with the brilliance to defeat our nemesis. The book of power, so aptly named, esteemed and famed for informing the brain, and doing the same as the ancestors before us. Sankofa, that's the life chorus. Wisdom is the key against dangers. How to change the leaders will lead to changes. We are due in Africa with no strangers. Do you hear us? Okay, hold on. We can't continue to beat the second fiddle. African power is the end of this riddle.
What?
Build a nation, the likes was never resisted. The motto heretofore, we persisted. Better, we resisted.
Best,
we build building will raise the roof and break through the ceiling, peeling away the chains we were given to stop, just survive and start thriving and living. Africa's about to host superpowers. China and US back up in time's hours. No one can be free without freeing themselves. But freedom is shown and hold on bookshelves. The book of power, a key for liberation. There's no domination where there's education, because ignorance is man's main weakness. All are exploited if we don't teach this. Then the pages of sages, kings and queens, Akapong, Delaney, Desolate, yeah, Garvey and Zinga and Cooks. 500 pages to pass most books. The task is told to bring up a continent. You will hold the tone for the confident. Have some pride and push forward your chest. Your leaders by reading one of the best. The book has science, covers violence, self-reliance, and does away with silence.
Come on.
Time has come for the work to get done and build up a land that'll be second to none. We'll organize, technologize, strategize a new Africa before our eyes, and blackness will be the complexion we see. Anytime we envision what it means to be free.
Come on.
So come join minds, read what is written. Here be solutions, no longer hidden. Nothing works in theory, all that works and works. So it's time to put ourselves first. Change the leaders and lead the changes. Tell your friends, family, and neighbors. Change the leaders and lead the changes.
Come on.
Tell your friends, family, and neighbors. Change the leaders and lead the changes.
Come on.
Tell your friends, family, and neighbors. Change the leaders and lead the changes.
Book
of Power.
Book.
So the Book of Power can be purchased on Amazon. Just click on the link below. Alright? Send me on tap. Tulende ma'a, tushende is fat. Tulende ma'a, tushende is fat. Tulende ma'a, tushende is fat.
Hotep. Love it. All right. Yeah, I tell you, man. Look, someday when you know, look, when you do music, you like when you do something, you like what you do. Okay. When I do music, I produce things I like. You know, like this book, I like this book. That's why I'm trying to. That's why I'm insisting you get it. Okay, because I like it. I'm like, wow, this like just like that song. I like that song. Come on. But all right, let's keep going. The way to get money. So there are many ways to get money for the UNIA. So approach and interview the most substantial members of your race in your community or your jurisdiction, such as the ministers of the gospel, doctors, lawyers, businessmen, and substantial tradesmen and persons of important occupation. So this is basically the elite. Okay, you want to have an elite, like every group have an elite class. Now they're not the elite in the sense of, see, you're not really elite unless you have your own nation. You see, you're not really an elite unless you have your own nation. But basically, these would be the occupations that would be the elite in a nation. So this is the vocabulary that I would teach in the Book of Power. Okay, but let's keep going. Meet them at their homes or at their offices or place of business and seriously talk to them about the program of the organization. Explain to them all its details, aims, and objects, and after doing so, ask them to contribute to the assistance of the association. Whatever they contribute, let me make sure, must always be recorded with their names, occupations, and addresses. The names of such persons must always be transmitted to the parent body for record, and all remarks that may be necessary to explain the character and disposition of the person must be added to the report on each person, so that the parent body could be advised as to the nature of the person to help the cause. This is important also because communication with the people must be couched in language consistent with the person's disposition and intentions. It must be taken for granted that people of this class will be skeptical at first and have to be convinced by proper arguments. If you can win over the support of such people who are the natural representative of class, the natural representative class is the elite of the race in which the community, you have achieved a great deal in winning the kind of support that will enable the organization to speak with authority because it has the best class of people supporting it. In approaching ministers of gospel, always be diplomatic enough to convince them of the Christian policy of the organization and the willingness of the organization to support the cause of the Christian religion. So this is where I would be like, what? No. See, that's why I don't even talk to the Christian, the Christian, yeah. Like today, I wouldn't even take this. But come on, if the preacher is won over and he contributes, you may get further assistance from him by seeking permission to speak to his congregation to raise funds for the organization. In doing so, always arrange with him that a percentage of what is raised is given to the church so that he may feel interested and satisfied to assist that way. And this is just basically reciprocity. Some people might say, hey, Why would the preacher want church? Why would you want money? Blah blah blah. Or you ain't raise your own damn money. You know what I'm saying? But no, you got to do reciprocity. People don't give without getting, or when people do give without getting, it's kind of annoying. Okay, it's kind of annoying. Like it's kind of annoying. Yeah. No preacher should be left until he has consented to help in some way, because there is no greater way of the church showing its willingness to expand the functions of the church than by helping a cause like that of the UNIA. If a preacher refuses, it is evident that he has not been in touch with the proper argument, or that he is positively selfish. One of the arguments to be used with the preacher is that by preaching unity, the association is assisting the church by getting Negroes to support their own religion, just as they are encouraged to support everything else that is theirs. Okay, so this is also another one of those reciprocity. Why am I helping you out? Oh, because I'm helping you out. So this is just like, and you see how it's just arguments. This is how you charm people. This is how you, and this is another thing too. Like when you read the pro-black compendium, there's that article. There's that article regarding charming, and how, realistically speaking, when you engage anybody in anything, you want to convince them that you're giving them more than you're getting. Okay, you're giving them more than you're getting, and so when you go to these, I mean, I wouldn't go to a church. I don't think you should go to a church either. I think we should just leave out the churches, to be honest. But even though there are masses of people, like, it's like, just step out of the church. I don't care. Like, you shouldn't be. I don't want to approach you in the church. You should not be in your enemy's religion. I'm sorry, you shouldn't. But like, it's just there's no excuse. But even on that sense, I say, you have to go, if you're going to these pastors, you got to say, look, I'm giving you more than I'm getting. I mean, I'm just getting like $5. You know what I mean? And I'll give you 50 cents. And you know how much it costs for me to get here, but for you, we're speaking globally. We're encouraging this religion that you profess, so your membership can increase, and who knows, that could be $10 extra for you, per person. You gotta. That's how you frame things if you want to be convincing, and so on and so forth. In approaching a doctor, you should point out that by the association preaching unity, self-support, and self-reliance, you are helping to increase his practice in the community. The same argument should be used for the Negro lawyer and Negro businessman, right? So that's, again, the same thing I'm saying. The argument for those who are in good position, employed as they may be by white people, is that the white people will not always employ Negroes. Who are in good position, employed as they may be by white people. Yeah, they might not always employ Negroes. They will only do so until they have approached or forced to substitute white employees for Negroes. You must convince these Negroes that the association is seeking to establish such economic and industrial independence for the race as to be able to find substantial employment for its own men and women of quality and ability, as evidenced by the program of the 5-year plan. Tell them that with the success, their support will help bring about this can be achieved. Hold on a second. Let me just double check something. I'm trying to figure out if he actually reads the 5-year plan. I think he mentions it. I think he mentions we could read it separately. Okay, yeah, maybe, because right here it says secure a copy of the circular, so we might not actually see the 5-year plan. Just a bit disappointing, but hey, if you want me to read it, just find it, and we can do that. Yeah, tell them with this is the Jesus word. Well, all right. A general approach should also be made to all other Negroes. Okay, so all other Negroes would be the masses, the commoners. Okay, the people who do not hold, elite working, elite jobs, if you will. So a general approach should be made to all other Negroes in their homes or at any place that you may conveniently meet them. Get them to contribute individually by using good, sound arguments for their support. The argument for the common people, look at that, common people, commoner, right? That's it. The argument for the common people is that there is no economic security for the race when it has to always depend on the white man's employment. So he's not really talking about white people's employment. He's talking about black self-employment, and that's beautiful and wonderful. And that's something that we should be doing right now. How many of us have contributed to funds to secure the to black self-employment? That's the question. And I mean, obviously, you have one opportunity of buying a book that contributes to a black Anyway, no, but seriously, I want you to read the book. That's what I want. I want you to read the book. I want the knowledge of the book to be read. But of course, it's reciprocity. It's always reciprocity. I give you good things, you give me good things. You know what I mean? Or you give me something at least. Because my ancestors were Maroons, we ain't working for free. That's it. But let's see. Therefore, by supporting the UNIA to the point of success, opportunities for employment will be created by the establishment of factories, mills, commercial, farming, and shipping enterprises, etc., which may offer them employment according to their trading. You can explain to all of them, professional and common people alike. See that? Professional and common people, elite and commoners. It's the language that's used. Okay? It's the language. It's you have to when you realize that there are classes like among every population, right? Like, because the thing is this, I remember there was one sister telling me the word elite is like a turnoff, okay? But that's from white people confusing us with these terms, you know? But like professional and common people does sound a little bit, you know, like it's less of what it is, but like it doesn't sound as bad. But you have to understand that no matter where you are, there are professional and common people. There are elite and commoners. This is what, like, elite does have a connotation to it, you know, outside of professional, but they're the same in the sense of this has always been the case for every civilizations, dawning back to African civilization, like starting with African civilization. And when you understand that, you can understand nationalism much better, in the sense of like you can understand nationalism much better, and I want you to, and that's what I want you to do. I want you to understand nationalism much better, because the understanding that we come about with nationalism today is not sufficient toward the aims of actually establishing power on the continent. And if we're truly about establishing power on the continent, we have to come to a deeper understanding. Like there's no other way. Because I mean, I'll give you an example. Like a lot of our people who push for nationalism or push to be on the continent, you know, have power on the continent, we're doing socialism, which does not have an understanding of this professional and commoner distinction. You know, and because it doesn't have that, you know, you'll see what amounts to like failed states. A lot of times you'll see what eventually becomes a failed state, partially because the attempt is made to create a like, let's say, egalitarian community, egalitarian nation. And it's just inconsistent with the African models that preceded. So there's a depth here. I want you to explore it. So let's see. You can explain to them, professional and common people alike, that contributing to the funds of the UNIA is no different to contributing to the funds of white organizations, which so many have done for many centuries. But the point is that while contributing to white organizations, they are supplying the club to break their own heads, economically and politically. In contributing to the UNIA, they will be supplying the ammunition that will be used to fight their enemies and to establish their own security. Explain to them that there is as much need for a self-denial, even to the poorest person of the race, to help the UNIA as a self-denial to help other causes which they are not directly identified. Okay, they are not directly identified. Hold on a second, let me see something. Okay. There should be a proper method of approaching and acquiring funds for the organization. If you are a representative of the organization, you'll be supplied with the necessary credentials and the necessary account forms to submit for the gathering of such support. No one is supposed to make an appeal for the UNIA who is not authorized to do so, because it will mean trouble and fraud and would be unworthy of anyone who has secured these lessons. This method of approach must not be used for personal purposes, but only for the purpose of the UNIA. 7. One of the major ways of raising funds for the UNIA is by public meetings advertised for the UNIA to explain its object and to speak on its general program. Such meetings may be arranged through the agency of division of the association or an affiliated one, or through the agents in the community. Where there is no branch of the association, these meetings can be arranged through friendly churches. In organizing such meetings, an agent should be appointed first. a place secured, and a proper advertisement prepared and distributed to the community before the date of the meeting. In a community of 2,000 people, at least 1,000 handbills should be printed. So that's actually pretty interesting. That's actually really interesting. You see, because I could even say for me, when I was doing organizing, right, I would be like, okay, here's 100. I got 100 flyers. You know, I got 100 flyers, and you know, it's like the community is like a nice like I want to say like 200,000 people. There's 200,000 people there, and I'm like, I got 100 flyers. Then I give out the 100 flyers, and I'm like, why did anybody show up? You know, so you know, I don't know about no communities with 2,000 people, but he says 2,000, you have at least 1,000 handbills to be printed. In a community of 10,000 or more, 2,000 or 3,000 handbills should be printed and widely distributed among the Negro population. So handbills is a good way. Not so much flyers, I guess, but handbills, and I like that. I'm you know, I gotta invest in that, obviously. You know, and widely distributed among the Negro population. All agents should be written to and asked to see that this is carried out, so that upon going to the place to address the meeting, you will not go where no one knows about it. Always word your handbills in the most attractive manner so as to create general interest among Negroes. You should mention that you are a graduate of the School of African Philosophy to suggest to the public that you have a rare, uncommon knowledge of great importance. This will attract their curiosity. When speaking at such a meeting, you should be at your best on the subject that you are going to discuss. After you have made your speech, sit down for a couple of minutes, then rise again and make your financial appeal. So, School of African Philosophy, that would be this book that we're reading. So this book that we're reading is not really a book as much as it's the notes of somebody who took this course. Somebody took the course and these are the notes that we're reading. So this is the graduate. This is the book. This is the notes of a graduate of the School of African Philosophy, which is pretty impressive, pretty interesting, and pretty well laid out. Let's keep going. Unless you are addressing a division, don't make an appeal for money in the speech that you make, because people will think that you are only speaking for money. Immediately after the speech, get up and make another short speech for funds to support the organization. So this is something that, you know, I might have to do. Not make my own commercials during my song. Nah, I'm joking out. I love that thing. It pumps me up. Anyway, immediately after the speech, get up and make another short speech for funds to support the organization. Always have your meeting well organized inside by arranging for ushers to take up the collection after you have asked for special contributions, which would be brought up to the table immediately in front of the platform. After you have made the appeal for special contributions of large amounts, then get the ushers to take up small contributions. Never ask for extraordinary amounts of special contributions. Consider the pockets of the people. You may ask for $5, $3, $2, or $1 from those who can give that much for a cause. Then after you have exhausted that, you may ask for a special contribution of 50 cents and then take up a collection from those who might not be able to give more than 25 cents or 10 cents. When you go into a strange community where the people are not members of the UNIA, make your first public meeting a meeting for obtaining members. All members who are to join must pay $1, 35 cents of which is due for the first month, 25 cents is the joining fee, 25 cents is for the constitution, and 15% is for the button and certificate. Each person should be given a receipt for the $1, then the person's name, occupation, address, and age is registered in the book. If you have secured 7 or more people as members, you have enough to start a division. After the meeting, call upon those who have joined to appoint a president and then have them elect a vice president, a treasurer, and a secretary. Leave a constitution and tell them that they must control the organization in keeping with the constitution. Tell them that they will be privileged to hold regular meetings, suggest twice a week, particularly on Sunday at 3 p.m. or at 8 p.m. Instruct them to work to secure more members, and then they can apply to the parent body for a charter, the cost of which is $25. Also tell them that they are privileged to collect money in their community from others who are sympathetic to the association to secure money for the charter. You should keep in constant touch with the secretary you have elected and find out when they are ready to apply for their charter. Then recommend that they contact the parent body for the charter. When they receive their charter, they should be advised to have a special meeting for the dedication of the charter. Then invite all the Negro of the community to attend, at which time they should try to get more members for the association. All right, give me 2 seconds. I'm just gonna upload another video. Hold on a second. Okay. All right. If you remain in town the second night, call for members also and make an appeal for funds for the association. Always see that you secure your expenses and have money as a net to forward to the parent body whom you represent. If you remain in town for 1, 2, or 3 days to work up a division or to visit a division, you should take the time to interview all the potential members in the community to get financial support for the organization, so that the expenses of the trip will not only be on the meeting, but on the community from whom you may get financial support. So you that's what I'm saying. You want to be reciprocal. You want to be reciprocal. If you're in a community, you want the money you collect to go towards that community as well. Like Garvey is applying, like this is the basis. This is the basics of African spirituality, and he's using that toward the advantage. And I mean, a lot of people use this, obviously, not just African people, but they use it in the sense of how pure and how perfect African spirituality is. Like they're going out of their way to not be like Eurasians. Like Eurasians are going out of their way to not be like Eurasians in order to be like Eurasians. Like that's what advertising is. It's like, hey, oh yeah, we are really reciprocal, but they're just exploiting you. Like they have like like they have a bottle of water for $1. You know what I mean? A bottle of water for $1. Some people say bottle of water for $2, $3, $4. Like it's just water, but they're like, oh, these are minerals and this will help you live longer and blah blah blah. Kind of like that that detox Garvey was talking about earlier, and it didn't really like it wasn't really as good as he was saying. Hold a second. All right. In getting people to join a division and elect officers, you should leave with them that portion of the first month's due, that is the divisions, according to the constitutional law. Also leave them a portion of the proceeds to enable them to start out with something in their treasury. You see, when setting up a new division, you should always advise them to rent a hall of their own where they will be able to hold their meetings without being disturbed. Suggest to them that they should not only depend on the regular monthly dues and the collection to support the division, but they should organize entertainment of an innocent nature, such as dances, concerts, beauty contests, popularity contests, or any kind of social event on a regular basis to help bear the cost of the rental of the place. You should explain to them that from the very beginning the division must make a regular monthly report to the parent body. This is in accordance with the Constitution. You should point out to them and then mark those important sections of the Constitution that deal with the relationship between a division and the parent body. If you are a representative of the UNIA with credentials, such as the Commissioner of a state, you should raise funds in the following ways for the parent body which you represent. 1. Hold bazaars within the state. 2. Picnics. 3. Garden parties. 4. Concerts or any general amusement that the public is accustomed to and would likely patronize for a cause. 6. Flower days, rose days, tag days, or self-denial days. If these functions are to take in the entire state, then ask all friends or divisions within the state to cooperate. When these events are held within a special community, then ask all friends or divisions in the particular community to cooperate. This must only be done with the previous arrangement with the parent body. Report to the parent body must accompany every such function. All these functions must be held in the name of the organization. You may also have groups of people in your jurisdiction organize house parties and give public entertainment for the benefit of the organization. So this is what you want to understand, though. So like I said, there's like 4 types of government. Okay, there is unitary government. Okay, unitary government means, and surprisingly or not, when I want to go program something, like I wanted to program something to entertain myself or whatever. like, you can say like a game, if you will, right? And this is where I was coming up with this idea of, these four styles of government. So it's pretty interesting that you can learn from anything, doing anything. But there are four types of government. There's the unitary government, which means basically one ruler of everything. Okay, everything. Like over one ruler over the division and the subdivisions. Okay, and by division, like in government sense, in a like a nation sense, division would be like a region of this planet. Okay, so like Western Africa, or even Africa, or Eastern Africa, right? So a unitary would be one leader, one ruler over all of Western Africa, or like a Songhai Empire. Well, not the Songhai Empire per se, but I'm just saying like that would be like a large region with multiple subdivisions. Okay, and you're saying that there's one ruler over even the subdivisions. A federation, however, is one ruler over the division. However, the subdivisions have their own leaders, and that's what you see with regards to the UNIA. The UNIA is a federation in the sense that the parent body is technically the ruler, and it collects its taxes and so on and so forth. It collects its fees and funds, but the subdivision has its own individuals who just kind of report to the parent body. On the other hand, you have what is a confederation. Now, a confederation would be if these different subdivisions had different leaders, but the parent body, the division had no leader. Okay, so a confederation would be kind of like almost like what you have in Africa, almost, except for that, but not really, because what a confederation would be was that they all kind of have like they all kind of share a constitution, if you will. And in Africa, that's not the case. Well, that's not necessarily a constitution, but they all kind of cooperate and are in cahoots with each other in a sense. That's not necessarily the case. It kind of looks like it, but it's more so the fourth model. The fourth style of government is a stateless government, which stateless basically means exactly what you see or saw in Africa or see in Africa, which is this idea that there are different rulers, but they're kind of disconnected. Okay, or that they're very disconnected. And there's not even a question of like shared government or a shared constitution or whatever. But I bring this up to say, it's pretty interesting that the UNIA is run as a federation. Federations are not bad. And although like for what it's worth, the United Snakes is a federation, but I mean, like most areas are federations. Like even the UK is technically a federation. And by the way, federal, that's why you call it a federal government. Just FYI, that's why you call it a federal government. But let's keep going. So if these functions are taken to the entire state, so the entire state, cooperation is one of the main words here. This must only be done with previous arrangement with the parent body. A parent body must accompany every such function. All these functions must be held in the name of the organization. You may also have groups of people in your jurisdiction organize house parties and give public entertainment for the benefit of the organization. A way to do this is to approach some responsible person on the street or in the neighborhood and ask him to invite his friends to his house for the party. If possible, you should always be present unless the person you have asked to have the party is unless the person you have asked to have the party is a responsible and honest person who's in sympathy with the organization. If you arrange a tag day or a flower day, it should be of a private organizational nature, because if made public, it would be in conflict with certain municipal or state laws governing charities. So I don't even know what a tag or flower day is. I don't know if he's going to say what it is, but I couldn't tell you what that is. These things are to be organized within the organization and among its friends. You can appoint members of the organization, such as units of the Black Cross nurses, to go into people's homes and offices and ask them to buy a tag or a flower to help the cause. Do not have them do it publicly on the street, except in communities where you are privileged to do so. Okay, so I'm guessing. So Black Cross nurses are pretty much like a women's organization. So I'm guessing the idea is that you would have women go around into people's homes and offices and ask them to buy tags I don't know. I'm guessing a tag is like a button. I don't know, or something like similar to a button. And a flowers. I know what a flower is, obviously, but it's kind of like like a little bit of an overprice. Overcharging people to support the community, which is not a bad idea. But I'm guessing he's saying that it's sometimes in some places illegal. I would not know. In governing these things, always try to get interesting people. But I mean, the main thing here though is that it's interesting. Like this is an interesting concept that we don't really see too often. Like, I don't believe I've ever been stopped to purchase flowers for any black organization. I feel like maybe I saw something like that once, but I don't. It's not a regular thing, and yet Garvey's kind of tell you, hey, look, this is actually something. This works, so keep this in mind, and we kind of just dropped it, like almost entirely. What you do see obviously is some black organizations selling papers, which is pretty interesting, but like again, that's mostly at like certain events. You don't really see them on the streets or anything like that. But I mean, except for with the exception of one, at least here in America. All right, in organizing these things, always try to get interesting people to help who will take part in these activities for the love of the cause and not for payment. You can arrange with churches in your jurisdiction to stage plays at their church hall or in the church on a percentage basis, and then get local talent in your jurisdiction to contribute to the program free of cost. In this way, you will find yourself continuously active. After you have done this thoroughly for a year, you will become acquainted with all the parties, and it will then be very easy for you to do the same thing annually. In such work, let every minute count, because if you appreciate all this, you will have no time for idleness. As far as white people are concerned, we do not specialize in seeking contributions from them, but where you think it is wise to arrange lectures among them, revealing only the humanitarian part of the work, you may conduct such lectures and raise a collection, or ask for help only on those humanitarian grounds. Do not commit yourself in any statement that would lead them to think that they can become members of your association or be affiliated with it or have any part in it. To do so would be a direct violation of the Constitution and against the association. This applies to individuals of the other races that you may ask to contribute to any special fund, but wherever such contributions have been made, a record should be kept of the person's name and address, and a report should be given to headquarters with remarks made to show the contributor's race for the purpose of guiding the parent body in communications with such persons then and in the future. So this is pretty interesting. Like here's the trouble. You go to modern organizations. A lot of the black organizations, they do have white, like they do have white membership or white subdivisions, so on and so forth. One of the movements that I really liked. Well, I didn't really like it, but I heard. Let me just say it this way. There's this movement called the Uhuru movement, I think. And they have a white subdivision, like a whole white subdivision that's like teaching African history kind of thing. Like African history in the sense of, well, not African history, let's say Eurasian history against Africa. Or the history of Eurasians in Africa, and like in a way that's like, oh yeah, we were brutal and blah blah blah, and whatever, right? I mean, it was interesting to see it when I was younger. But it's like, yeah, you don't take up membership of other races. Like, you don't. Period. But we're gonna keep going. So, and then we're almost finished. You missed me already, right? School of African Philosophy, College Yale. We must win. We shall win. We will win. Win, yes, win, and win to win. You and I shall win to win. For Africa we win. We must win. We shall win. We will win. Win, yes, win, and win to win. For Africa we'll win to win. Okay, I think that's it. That's we just talking about winning. All right. The creed of goodness. To pass the time in doing good, to count the evils we put down, to have our deeds so understood is nobler than to wear a crown, to bless the people as we go, to scatter seeds that grow to life, to strike all sin a deadly blow, and better than to stir up strife. For this of all is greater fame than none on earth can e'er destroy. And that's it. That's it, family. that's it. We're done. We've done Message to the People. We're finished. That's the course on African philosophy. If you want to read it by yourself, if you want to see the notes or even the introduction, which I skipped over, and it's also a treat to read. But if you want to read any of this, hey, click on the Discord link below. Let me see if I can show you. Click on the Discord link below, and you'll get it. You can read the preface, you can read the forward, and you'll have this book, and you can always come back and read along with me, or whatever you want to do. But thank you for joining me. Definitely like, subscribe, and share. It was a pleasure to read this book. It was a pleasure to read this book with you. I hope that you are in other videos that I may do. Definitely drop some comments. You could shoot me an email if that's your pleasure. And if nothing else, it was great. It was great. I had fun. Hopefully you had fun. And I enjoy this. If you like good content, like I said, I'm an author. So you can check out my books. I list them on Amazon. But otherwise, outside of that, hey, it was nice. I like this. I'm sad it's over, but hopefully there's going to be future works, and I'd like for you to be with me in that as well. So until then, Shemi Hotep. Uncle Ja Seneb Neb, Amen Ma'a Dua Nature.